Good morning. Welcome to this meeting of the Wayne County Facilities Committee. I want to welcome everyone here as far as from the Facilities Committee. Sitting on the committee is myself, Ray Mayo, and our chairman of the County Commissioners is Mr. Steve King, and our at-large commissioner is Mr. Wayne Acock. Mr. Lee Smith, our county manager, and he has Ms. Noel Woods here that's going to be helping us today, Ms. Marshall Wilson. I want to welcome everyone here. We have some elected officials here. We have people from the library that's here. It's good to see everyone here this morning. And today is a day that is going to set precedents in Wayne County and North Carolina. I want to make a couple of things as far as information is concerned, is that after the presentations today by the 5 design build teams, by the way, we welcome all those 5 design build teams. They're in another room and they'll be coming in one at a time. We welcome you. We thank you for participating in this design build. But after the presentations today, the Facilities Committee will recess until our next Commissioner meeting, which is on August 6th, and we will meet in this room at 7 a.m. And at that time, the Facilities Committee will decide one design build team to move into the design and construction phase of the Steele Memorial Library. The selected team will be presented to the Board of Commissioners in that meeting on August 6th in the form of a motion for final approval by the Board of Commissioners. So that is some information that is going forward that you need to know. And again, I welcome everyone here this morning, the news media. We are being taped, as you are aware. And this time I want to turn it over to Mr. Lee Smith, our county manager. He has some additional information as we move forward this morning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Real quickly, this has been as most of you know, design build for counties and municipalities in North Carolina has not been allowed, and Wayne County was one of the first to have it become a reality. And we know by virtue of past project that it works. And in our research, and Ms. Woods, who's done a lot of research on this process in other areas and other states, that it is a good process that we can look at to save taxpayer money, but also to build a good quality project. It's not all just about saving the dollars, but it's about building something that will last a long time and is sustainable as far as cost reasonably to the taxpayers of Wayne County. This morning we will be listening to through about 1 o'clock or so the 5 design builder teams. The staff met with 7 of the original. If everyone will recall, we did have 7 originally. The staff met and actually went through presentations with these groups, and the staff came back with the 5 that we thought, based on these presentations and reference checks and background information, the 5 that would come back to the Facilities Committee in public as is required, and take that recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Is there anything else, Noel, anything else you wanted to share? We look forward to the process. We've put a lot of research. I want to thank Noel for all the work she's done in putting together, the RFQ. That has, again, there were no models, so we have had to develop the models. So that's all right. So as Mr. Mayo said, there are eyes on us as far as the state. And we need to talk to the School of Government about developing some models to do this correctly. So we appreciate the patience of the public, of our design teams and our contractors, and also the Board of Commissioners. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to Ms. Woods. You want to go ahead and bring our first group in? We'll have 45 minutes. We're allowing, that way you have some transition time. Also for questions by the Facilities Committee. But we'll ask the groups to come in one at a time and introduce themselves, their team members, and they'll be giving you your presentation. And back to you, Ms. Chairman. So you want to go ahead and intro?
Our first group will be T.A. Loving and MHA Works. T.A. Loving, of course, is out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, and MHA Works is out of Greenville, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Richter. I hope to be your project manager. Our President and Chief Executive Officer, Sam Hunter from TA11 Company, to show you a commitment from the top. We have Albie McLaughlin with MHA Works, our project architect, and Scott Wynn, an estimator, one of our estimators, who does very good work. My role in this project is pretty much your fiduciary, steward of our money, the county's money, just like I do at the battlefield. I pretty much monitor and control all expenditures. I purchase all of the goods and services to accomplish a project. And I'm your person of contact. If you have any issues of any kind, you have one person to call, and that's Bobby Richter.
Y'all locally probably know TA11 as good as anyone, them being right here from the county, but MHA Works is a 27, recently 30-person architectural office. We've got offices in both Durham and Greenville, and we'll be running this particular project from our Greenville office. When we do a very wide cross-section, we want to focus on things today in this presentation that we feel uniquely qualify our team to do this particular project. The breadth of scope of service that our office can offer this project is unique. We have 9 architects on staff. We have a full interior design staff, and we feel like that'll be relevant through the course of this project. The 2 main points that we want to hit on relative to this entire presentation are, one, understanding your values, and through that are both the cost control aspect of that and designing in context. We want to make sure that the building, whatever it ends up looking like and feeling like, speaks to the people of Mount Olive. Those 2 things are really important. And we also understand that figuring out how to, and let me know if this isn't coming across from my standpoint, I want to make sure that everyone's hearing what they need to hear, but that our past performance, whether it's budgetary, schedule, and even sort of the whole process of architectural rebranding of the facility, we understand what you've got there, and we want to reiterate why we're the right team for this job. Scott?
That being said, one aspect of the cost control is if you can look at these 2 pictures, one of my jobs is to actually analyze what the design team is doing as it relates to cost of the project. These are 2 pictures of 2 different reception desks. One on the left-hand side looks a little bit nicer than the one on the right-hand side, but the one on the left-hand side is using a little more expensive materials. One of my functions is to analyze the materials and get basically the best product we can for a cost. And then this next slide is actually a cut section through the Steel Memorial Library from the proposed plans. We thought this was interesting because if you look at the very top of the wall section, you might not be able to see it, but basically this wall section is going to involve 4 trades. You've got drywall, roofing for a metal coping, you've got brick veneer, and you have a storefront. Well, the first thing I thought was basically we could eliminate one whole trade by changing the cornice to something like an EIFS or a stucco. And what that does is that not only increases the productivity, but it helps with the schedule, and it decreases the amount of trades on the project, which is overall the kind of things I'll kind of look at when I'm looking at what the design team is doing in pre-construction.
And Scott is being pretty modest about this because, you know, as an architect, one of the things that we often overlook is how do the trades actually work on the job. And one of the things Scott pointed out to me relative to this proposed section is you basically have folks that have to come on site, leave, and then come back on site another time. And that's one of the things that's a driver of cost. If someone can come on site, do what they've got to do, and leave, that's important. And that's one of the areas that TA11 and MHA Works are going to work together closely. Bobby, did you want to mention something about
I have a local presence here in Mount Olive, or there in Mount Olive, with the Mount Olive Pickle Company. We're doing a distribution expansion.
Mic a little more if you would, thank you.
We're doing a distribution expansion and production line at Mount Olive Pickle currently, and that is also a design-build project. So we have a local presence, and we've, as a company, have always believed in the philosophy of spending money locally.
One of the things that when you're concerned about cost control, one of the things that our team is conscious of is the relationship between schedule and cost. And while Scott has already hit on choosing the right materials and getting trades on site and able to do their work and come and go from a scheduling standpoint, but another thing is the overall project schedule. If a project ends up running longer than expected, that has a direct negative impact on how cost is being used to fund the job. And one of the things that our team has a good track record of doing is making sure that there are little to no time overruns on our projects. While this is a library job, because of the fact that it's a renovation, we really feel like the renovation aspect of the process is going to be, especially when it comes to cost control, more important than the fact that does the firm you select have a bunch of library experience. MHA Works has done well over 800 renovations in the 25-year history of our company. That's a lot, and that's a very conservative number. They range from dirty little jobs where someone says, "Hey, I've got a life safety issue and it's just a firewall," to full-blown renovations of multi-million-dollar facilities. And this is one of the original 6 or 7 buildings on East Carolina's campus, the Mamie Jenkins building. It was about ready to fall in on itself. And the university explored a couple of different delivery methods for how to best do this project. We ended up working on an informal basis for the university, and the project was achieved at about $78 a square foot. The former chancellor, Eakin, spoke specifically about how well the design team looked at all of the details, large and small, and incorporated all of those things into the facility. Another renovation project that MHA Works is involved with, and this is right next to our office in Greenville, is the Blunt Harvey building. Some of you that know Greenville well might know this building. This is a period photograph from '45. And this is sort of a storyboard of the process of bringing that building back from, at some point in the, I guess it was the early 70s, someone thought it was a good idea with lots of these old buildings that had a lot of character to renovate them like you see there on the far left. And we helped the client achieve a 40% tax credit to do this project. It has become a catalyst for other investment in the downtown. And one of the things that we did with this particular project, a lot of the details up at the cornice were originally glazed terracotta, and that's the white portions up at the top of the building. And to be able to do that today would be exorbitant in terms of the cost. But from a historic preservation standpoint, they said it has to look the same way or you're not getting your 40% tax credits. So we worked with both parties to develop a system where we actually made fiberglass templates, and that's what you see sort of there in the middle with all at the bottom of the page. Each one of those decorative pieces, we, using the same technology that people build boats with, we made a fiberglass clip that was actually manufactured and placed directly over the building without having to demolish any further portions of the building. They basically clipped on over the top. The maintenance on it is no different than vinyl siding in terms of how much attention you have to pay to degradation. It was very cost effective and helped achieve that 40% solution. I'm going to highlight a couple other renovation projects. This is on the campus at Chapel Hill. It's originally built in 22, and one of the things here that's bears some relevance potentially to your project is the way that the utilities are integrated into the project. You see on the right-hand side what a view looking down the corridor looks like, and on the left-hand side you actually see the amount of attention we had to pay in terms of design to make sure that all of those different things, whether it's the air conditioning, whether it's the sprinkler piping, were concealed, electrical conduit concealed in a manner that did not begin to degrade the value of the vision of the space that the client wanted us to achieve. Scott, if you want to talk a little bit about material selection.
One of the other aspects of my job in pre-construction is to analyze what materials the design team is putting into the project and look at that as not just a upfront cost, but as a long-term cost for the owner. And this is an example of a carpet, but really this same example can go really across the board to a lot of materials on the project. As you can see on your graph, you can spend X amount on a carpet that might last you 4 years, where you might spend 10 or 20% more and you get double the life out of the product. And carpet's a good example of that, because if you look down the bottom, you can see, this analysis of how much it might save you over like a 10-year period.
And this is not something that we do just hit or miss. This is something we're doing a full 10-story dormitory renovation on East Carolina's campus currently. It's a construction management at risk job, and as part of that process, we had to go through and material by material sort of look at, the university is not thinking about the renovation in terms of how do I get the cheapest possible product. They're looking at how do I get the most value for my tax dollars. And so we looked at vinyl composite tile, which is what most of the bedrooms on the campus have, versus what's considered a vinyl tile, and it basically has a wood floor look, and it was put down at a cost premium of about 25 to 30% over what the VCT would be on that particular job. And when it was compared with the amount of maintenance, having to go in and wax those VCT floors, which the university sometimes doesn't do on a regular basis, or at the cycle that's recommended for that flooring product, after a 3 to 4.5 year window, depending on how much maintenance the university actually puts in, that product had already paid for itself in terms of the difference in cost. So that's one of the things that we're going to bring to this. Another key component of cost control is thinking about not just what the initial cost is, but what is the cost to operate and maintain this facility over the life expectancy of it. This is the Eastern 4-H Center that MHA Works worked on. It's out in Terrell County. It's about an 8,000 square foot. The large brown area is a multi-purpose space. And to be truly multi-purpose, it has to have a large storage facility next to it to store all the different furnishings that are used. That's the reddish area there to the side. That's a fairly large storage room that actually has a roll-up door, so basketball, goals, everything can be rolled in and out. And this is what that space actually looks like. And one of the things that's really key to this, not only from a convenience standpoint of the proximity to all that storage and how much manpower is required to make it truly multifunctional, but from a lighting standpoint. This is NC State's first LEED Gold project that's a freestanding building. And as you can see on the top, that's what that facility looks like at about 7:30 in the evening with no lights on in that particular space. And on the bottom, that's with all the lights on. And as you can tell, you could use that space for whatever function you needed to with absolutely not a single light on most days out of the year. That's a tremendous cost savings to the owner. Typically, costs from an operations standpoint are going to break down to about 30% for lighting, 30% for heating, and 30% for cooling. If the lighting load on this is dropped down to next to nothing, that has a major implication on how the tax dollars get spent in the future. The list here, or the list that you see for the July events, that is a listing of all of the events that the Mount Olive Library has got planned through the end of this month. And there's a pretty wide spectrum of events there. You're not necessarily trying to appeal to one demographic. As you see from the photograph, you're basically trying to span with this library a bunch of different generations. And at the last presentation, Mr. Keene asked us about the potential to partner with higher institutes of higher education relative to some of this work. And one of the things that we do is try hard to listen to what folks want. Last Friday, MHA Works, along with about 7 representatives from Joyner Library, went to the Hunt Library, which in the context of the state of North Carolina is probably getting more national press than any library in the nation. And the photographs you see here are trends in how libraries are moving nationwide. That's their book bot that you see. It's a 3-story book storage system that's automated retrieval. And we look at what are the technologies that are enabling libraries. And this technology and this mindset bears direct relation to what you're trying to do in terms of making a facility that is flexible. So as your needs change 5, 10 years, you're not having to undo money that you just recently spent. Our office has done about 6 or 7 projects over the past couple of years in Joyner Library. And here are just a couple of those highlighted. But what's important in all of these slides is sort of planning for change. Each one of these, this particular space has flexible furnishings. It allows certain tutoring spaces to be cordoned off from other spaces depending on what types of events are going on. This is a 120 computer lab space in the basement of the library that all of the math education is moving towards. And one of the things that's really unique about this is that all of the power is floor fed. And last presentation we didn't have this slide, but I've actually got a couple samples of what this really looks like. But if we're going to suggest a product that an owner is not familiar with, we will actually let the owner kick the tires before we design with that product. You see on the left the folks who have to maintain this product from the university standpoint looking at it. This product won a bunch of awards in 2007, 2008 for innovation. The flooring system is only at 1.6 inches thick. It can be set right on a slab just like you've got in Mount Olive, and all of the data can be fed. If you need to rearrange where your electrical outlets are, you don't have to go in, cut your slab up, hire an electrician to spend a long period of time rerunning conduit. It's all right there. You pop a couple carpet tile up, and you can rearrange to meet your changing needs without a lot of headache. These are a couple other shots from Joyner. And then we both TA Loving and MHA Works take very seriously the reconnaissance of the space. I mean, Scott, do you want to talk about sort of going out? Some of these photos are ones I took back when prior to the previous designer being selected, we were interested in the job back then. Mm-hmm. And these are some photos that Scott recently took. And do you want to kind of talk about some of your observations?
And we do this on every project. The idea is to go out and survey the existing conditions, see what the surrounding area is like, to see what is going to fit in that area without disruption to the community. And I think this is a building that needs renovation. And I think we can come up with some ideas that are really going to look nice in that area.
And one of the things we want to focus on is that you've already got a design, and it's not our place as the potential architect in this design-build relationship to reinvent something that might not be messed up. There's been a lot of energy spent in developing the plan that you have right now. And so our capacity in this process would be to facilitate the owner, the friends of the library, TA Loving, in revisiting any portions of that need to get revisited, but not anything beyond that. MHA Works has, or I particularly have been a part of a handful of different library projects, some with MHA Works and some prior to my joining MHA Works. These are two community libraries that are for similar sized areas that Mount Olive is. Both of these libraries are about between 8,000 and 9,000 square feet. So about half, a little less than half the size of this proposed library. One is Winterville's library, and the other is the Carver Library. And both of these two have a couple of key ingredients that make them successful. They can be staffed with one person. You're trying to save about $400,000 over what was previously budgeted, is our understanding. If you have a facility that requires 3 staff people more than it would otherwise need because it's well designed, you're going to spend that same $400,000 quicker than 4 years. So we want to design you a facility that if you want to staff it with 2 people, you can successfully staff it in a safe manner with the right number of staff. it's not our place to sort of go and look at a design and nitpick it without input from the owners and the user groups. But one of the things that we notice right offhand is that you have the primary entrance to the facility currently, the way the renovation plans work, are towards Main Street. The only parking that's contiguous to the lot is on the back side of that, and I don't think my pointer will work on your screen, but it's the arrow that's closest to the bottom of the page there. And the plans here, basically, the lowest elevation there, that's the elevation that faces that parking lot. Our thought is you really need an entrance that starts to address both the side over here, which is the parking lot side, and the Main Street side. And the only way you'd really be able to do that is if your circulation desk, which right now, let's see here, this red dot that you see, that's your circulation desk. And you have about 160, 170 degree peripheral vision. And that green swatch of space is sort of representing what that would be if one person is trying to watch the door. You clearly can't see over half the area, even if there are no obstructions. One of the things that we've learned through our library expertise is keep the shelving in the middle of the space low so it doesn't obstruct sight lines. Put the circulation desk in a manner that as few staff people as possible can watch all of the public entries into the space. And that would not be a major change, a major departure from what's already been designed. It's something that would be easy to do in terms of moving some things around. And we'd like to come back to that with any questions you have, but Scott really wants to talk about our history in terms of our cost and our schedule performance.
Like I've already hit on, my primary role in this process is cost control. Where Albies might be design, Bobby's is managing the money during construction. I've been doing this for 20 years. It's what I do every day. 90% of the projects I work on are in a similar contract method to this one. The screen in front of you, you can see the top is your project where Albie was saying that you're looking for that $400,000 he discussed is about a 15% decrease. I picked out 3 projects. I could probably give you 25. But 2 of these are local and one is just down the road. The Paramount Theater, which is downtown Goldsboro. We actually contracted that for about 50% of the original budget that the city had, in which they had to cancel the project, and we had to do it through private construction funds. The Mount Olive Pickle project, and their budget was about $1 million over what the money they had. We decreased their budget by about 18%, and I think we've actually even done better on that now. And then the Campbell Press Box, which is an ongoing project for Campbell University, we decreased their budget about 17% to try to get it into their allotted money. So what I do is I take a project that's in design and I try to match it with whatever budget the owner has, and match it with what the requirements are for the end user.
With that, we'll go into question and answer.
Any questions from, I have one I'd like to ask. If you're gonna in depth far enough to see what kind of timeline that you could do as far as the construction phase?
That's a very good question, and actually I think I've got, let me go back to a slide. Let's see here. I think I've got a couple more. This is not this particular project's timeline, but one of the things that I think is important is to sort of look at how much public input. Generally speaking, our team, if you've got a plan, it's ready to go, MHA Works doesn't really need to have a whole lot of involvement to help, change some materials out, and TA11 is ready to go right now if that's what you want. But typically the public input process is part of what drives schedule, and that's usually about as long as it takes to tweak the design. So if it's going to take a month or a month and a half to modify and have some public input meetings, it's going to take about that same duration of time, whatever that duration of time is, to review and permit and all those things, to design. And this particular slide is a $100 million project that that MHA Works was in pursuit of in Greenville, and TA Loving actually won as part of an endeavor. But we were thinking about how to reduce the schedule from the overall duration of time that it could take if the process just ran its natural course to getting a client into the space much quicker. So if I think your RFQ said 10 months, and that is not hard to achieve, provided that we're not redesigning the entire facility.
Mm-hmm. To be real specific, it normally take about 90 days to go through the input process, the design, a permit, a couple of weeks for us to bid out the project properly, 6.5 to 7 months to construct. One thing we learned in finer finishes in the upper end buildings is a quick time just hurts you. It's quality. You're looking quality, and it takes time to deliver quality.
And here, just we've got a couple slides here that we want to make sure we can hit on also. This is from an MHA Works standpoint, sort of represents the breadth of projects that we work on typically. Some of them are a little larger than your project, some of them are a little smaller than your project, a handful of library projects in the mix. And you can see that we've got a couple projects in there that are 70-day construction durations that are $3+ million that are on schedule. So provided we have timely input from the owner side, our team will not have an issue meeting whatever schedule you need to meet.
Okay. The other question I had was in the way the plans are right now, the architectural drawings, what do you see, or do you know at this point what possibly needs to be changed in order to meet our target price of $120 a square foot? Do you have any ideas on that?
Actually, the roll of drawings over there is a set that Scott printed out everything that's available, and he's already gone through the entire set and done exactly what you're asking for. He's marked that set up and said, this could be this could be this, but he doesn't want to come out and say that without knowing what the library does or doesn't want to cut. But he's already done his homework and identified how to bring the project into that $120
I think to answer your question about the budget, we could get it in the budget. We could probably do better than the budget.
Well, that's my next question.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, okay. Anyone else on the committee have any questions? Mr. King?
For architect, go ahead.
We actually have a county client right now that TA11 is going to shoot me for saying this, but they're accusing us of being lavish, and we're spending $42.50 a square foot to renovate a space. And they're accusing that's the biggest compliment I think we can be paid if we're spending $42 and get accused of being lavish. And that's with new HVAC. That's with new flooring. It's not. I'm not saying you can do that on this project, but that's what we try to bring to the table.
Mr. King?
I'd like to go back to the entrances, the main entrance, the side entrance off Chestnut, and the back entrance, and for architectural design. The idea here is to have the parking lot over on the opposite corner off the front end, and have Mount Olive to come to the plate on that. They've agreed to do that. But for curb appeal and for the flavor of Mount Olive, to get the elevations on the Chestnut Street and also the elevations on the rear entrance, as we have discussed in the past, that there's property on the backside that could be acquired in the future to increase the parking, not just for staff, but to make that just as much an entrance as the front part. So with that said, I'm not sure if the current architectural designs of what I am looking at and what I've seen in the past, does it indicate where the elevations look the same on all three sides? So it gives, because the back side does look somewhat plain,
It-
and I think, I guess what I'm getting at is that the previous plans or the plans that you have used do not indicate that it's going to look the same on all three sides. And for the future, elevations, I think I personally think that all three sides should complement one another all the way around. So as anywhere you look at the library, you're seeing a good shot of the library in any way you come. The other sides you can't do much with because of the buildings. And I'm sorry, I don't know if that's the south side.
That's actually, it's hard to judge because the drawings say plan north and east and west, but
Which one's north?
here, as you can see,
You can't see.
Main Street is what I would call the north side of the
Okay.
building.
Okay.
This is oriented properly with straight up being due north.
So west would be to the left, south? And
Yes.
then,
Right.
okay, the east side then, there's not anything you could do to the building on the east side. But the south side is weak.
Yes.
Very weak
Yep.
as far as curb appeal in the future. And of course, inside, not knowing the logistics for the inside, but if you're going to turn the back side in, which is the south side, in 10 years because of traffic and cars and entrances, and it may become busier on the south side as the library grows. So internally, I'm not sure, architecturally and engineering-wise, would you consider that just as important as the north side?
One of the things we like to do is look at libraries regionally and sort of use those as precedents. And the main Shepherd Library in Greenville has a historic front, and it was maintained as an entrance to the building. It's right around the corner from our office. But they did a major addition on the back side, and that's really, it's the one that's the closest to the parking lot, and that's where everyone comes and goes from, or probably 85% of folks that come and go from the library come and go from that entrance.
From a cost standpoint, we want to consider handicap access. We didn't think that parking lot across the street would really be a good access for handicap as far as safety. So that's what started us looking at the south side for another entrance.
Right. You don't really want to have someone that's a patron that has to park back on the south side of the building and have to go around all the way to the north side, which is a long way to traverse. And I don't even believe it's legal to ask them to cross the street to get to a building. So if you were trying to park them catty-cornered, there has to be some other arrangement relative to how to bring folks with disabilities to your building.
And
The
Mr. Mayor.
other question, follow-up question would, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Follow-up question would be the time. If we had to make adjustments and the commissioners approved to move ahead in August, the first meeting in August, August and September, that would, if we could get something done and put a spade in the ground by October 1st, or to start October, November, December, January, February, March, that's 180 days. You've done some preliminary work. So if you start in October, you think it would be a 150-day project or a 180-day project? If you started October 1?
We could, and not to quantify or qualify that, the biggest issue in renovations is being able to acquire the materials. In this particular project, you're not going to have large mechanical stuff, so that should be readily available. What are you going to run into is casework, bookshelves, and millwork. Millwork is normally about a 3-month draw, submit, manufacture, deliver. So it's really not getting the work done, it's getting the materials to do the work.
And we've already identified some of the issues with millwork that we can eliminate to speed up that process. That's part of the BE that we've already looked at on the project.
And one of the other things to consider relative to opening the facility is even the things that aren't built in, all of the owner-furnished items. If the shelving isn't turnkey, if it's mobile pieces of furniture, one of the things that we do for all of our clients is, if they ask us to, we do soup to nuts. We do all of the handling of procurement, getting all of that material ordered so it's all available when you try to open the facility. So that's one of the things that our interior design staff does really well, and that's one of the reasons Joyner Library likes using us.
Thank you.
Check out. All right. Yes.
I'd like to just say a few comments here to close. Sam Hunter, I'm president of TA Loving and also an owner. But I would first like to thank you, Chairman Mayo, for your interest in TA Loving, continued interest in us and MHA. I think we brought a great team to you. As you know, we've been in Goldsboro for 90 years, so obviously we're familiar with not only the county, but we're familiar and know the people. And what does that bring to this project? That brings us the ability to go and to communicate and to work with the people of Mount Olive and also with your committee who will be managing this project. You don't have to look far. We didn't say much about it, but I also commend you for selecting the design build project delivery method. It is, as Lee was talking about, relatively new to public procurement, but it's really not new to Goldsboro, and it's definitely not new to TA Loving. The Paramount Theater was built with a design build. At that time, the public procurement laws didn't allow it to be done, so it was actually built by TA Loving in partnership with David Wills Foundation, and then the city of Goldsboro took it over. But it was a way that we made the money that was available work for Goldsboro. It was a successful project. TA Loving did it right here, so we know how to do it. And I will commit to you, we're going to be here for, I hope, another 90 years. Our reputation is at stake on every project that we do, and it couldn't be more at stake when we do one right here in Wayne County. And as was pointed out, we're so fortunate. We just finished a job at Mount Olive. We're working at Mount Olive Pickle. So the people down there know TA Loving. And I just want to commit to you one thing that we didn't speak a whole lot about. Our team, you're talking about a team here. Bobby Richter is the point of contact. You do not have to be concerned about who should I call this person, that person. Bobby Richter is that person. And that I will commit that we will do everything that we can to ensure that this project is successful. And we just want to thank you again for your interest in us.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ms. Wood, Ms. Woods?
Motion, so you just recess for a second and get me set up for the second. Okay. Do you want to recess for just a moment so we can set up for the second presenter?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and be back in 5. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone back from our recess, 5-minute recess, and we're back in session at this point. And I want to turn it back over to Ms. Noelle Woods for our next presentation.
Our second presentation today will be from Bordeaux Construction out of Durham, North Carolina, and Hyde Associates out of Greenville, North Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're real appreciative of having an opportunity to show our presentation of your new library in Mount Olive. And once again, I'm Tom Bordeaux, and I'd like to introduce myself as being the owner of our company. And
I'm Jimmy Height with Height Associates, Architects and Engineers from Greenville, North Carolina.
And before we get started, I would also maybe just like to introduce Roy Weaver. Roy Weaver is going to be our candidate for superintendent for the project, and Roy's been with the company for almost 30 years and has built projects in Wayne County and specifically Mount Olive before, so I want to introduce him. Our structure for the project is certainly I'll be the project executive, and we have I will be overseeing the startup of the project, the facilitating design, be involved in some of the management of the facility. My son Blair Bordeaux had interviewed last time. He would have loved to be here today, but right now about 9 o'clock this morning he's having his shoulder surgery. So he wishes everybody the best, and I wish he could have been here to continue his presentation. And Jimmy will be doing the design phase, and we'll be using him for his expertise in the design, architectural services, and getting the plans together, getting the communication and the, as far as the strategy of putting together the outline of the facility. You may want to address that, Jimmy.
Well, you know, the history of our firm goes back to 1984, some 30 years. And we have done a significant amount of design build work in the private sector coming up through those years. Most recently, as you're well aware, public entities have gotten into design build, and you know, it's certainly a very efficient way to deliver a facility. We're familiar with the process that not only involves the stakeholders, the user groups, but it also gives us the check and balance on a continuing basis from the very beginning of the design, from the very beginning of establishing the scope of the work, so that the budget is protected all along the way.
And this is where the design build process is an excellent process to get the contractor, the architect together so that we can outline and protect costs, understand what is the most effective methods, means, materials, and we'll be bringing that to the table. The issue of local is important to us, and wanted to address the fact that Bordeaux Construction over the years has done a lot of work in Wayne County as school programs, jail programs, assisted living. So we've done that for a great number of years. Going back in time, Mount Olive, Carver Wayne School, and most recently we did Roy did some work at Mount Olive, did a parking lot expansion just a couple years ago. So we are very familiar with the local economy, the local hardware store, the ability that will bring that to the table on this project.
Our firm has been active in Eastern North Carolina for a long, long time. We've done work here in Wayne County for the school system, Rosewood Elementary, additions to Rosewood High, and Charles B. Aycock. We are very familiar with the wants and needs and expectations of our public clients in Eastern North Carolina, and we understand what stewardship is when you talk about taxpayer dollars. That's how we built our reputation, and that's what we bring to the team here and to the table for Wayne County.
As far as project budget, this was something that we've gone through and tried to put together an outline for your information, just what we could perceive as a budget, and we'll get into some more detail later on in the presentation. We feel like that we have examples of projects that we've recently done that we would be able to draw on that are very, very similar to the project that you're envisioning on doing in Mount Olive. But the construction cost, if you'll see there, is an outline for the size of the budget. The overall cost is like $77. What is the budget is unknown right now, but I really believe, and after looking at the facility this morning, that's still something that we can whittle away on this. Jimmy and I went by to look at the project, and we have visions and we have comments that we'll be addressing in a minute about the facility. So, this is just an outline of what we would see that we would start on to get started. As far as team building, that's the important part. Right now we're starting with a team, and we would like to be a part of the team, and the way we got to do that is effectively communicate. Comfortable with everybody, being honest and open, and presenting an outline of what your needs and wants are. So we feel like that Jimmy and I are looking to share with the team members, everybody in the room. Everybody's got a vested interest in their aspect of it. We've got to understand that and incorporate it into the project. And that's what bringing somebody like a contractor, architect, team together early in the stage where we can work together and collaborate cost, needs, understand how the cost control of the project would be is very important to get us in there early. we are wanting to understand your wants and needs. We don't know it today, but we would certainly be open and willing to sit down and talk about all the things that you've been talking about for evidently quite some time. I'm gonna go through the site plan. I mean, we looked at the site. The only thing I could say about the site and the building, it just seems to be tailored for a library in Mount Olive. I mean, it's sitting there on the corner. I know it was an old department store, but quite frankly, looking at it, it's very quick to renovate something like that because the building seems like it was, whoever bought it, looks like it's tailor-made for a library. Some of the sections and elevations of the old library, I'd like to kind of go forward if I can to kind of talk about a project that we feel like we did that was very similar, where we bought, I don't know who's got do I have that control of the slideshow?
I do.
Okay, if you'll drive forward to the before and after photos of a library in Wake County. Now, that reminds me of just the project we did. We started this project in 2006. We bought, Wake County got us involved. It was a building similar to what your building was. It was obviously a building that had been abandoned, and what do you do with it? You're going to renovate it, and they had a vision of making a library out of it. The very next photo shows, boom, you take it out, and there it is. Now, the issue of this library compared to your library, it's in an area of Raleigh. It's a very popular library. I would even say it's probably Wake County's most popular or most frequently used facility. And this is what I feel like gives Bordeaux and Height a unique perspective of what it's going to take a renovated project and renovate it into a library. A couple things that were, I guess, important for me to show you. It's just what it took. You know, we take out part of it, but what we had to do, we had to modify the underground plumbing, just like you would to get it to the, we had some underground electrical, a couple of the features in this library that maybe I saw in your design that Jimmy and I will talk about in a second, is going to the next slide. And this was a light monitor that we incorporated in the, to the project. It was part of the design, but as I just wanted to show you this picture, this is on top of an existing roof. We go cutting holes to the roof. There's a lot of work doing this. It was a feature that was going to add over a lot of cost to daylight the library, and I thought that was important to talk about because of the expense and what do you get out of it. The next slide will show you that. This is showing the exposed structure. We feel like that this is means and methods, but we feel like that in your case, this is a excessive cost, and this is something that I feel like that we would not budget for your project. But, you know, this is obviously a stunning architectural feature, but I'm not so sure that it adds what you need as far as inside of it. The next slide is just how we, you know, the reason I brought this slide was just to show the brick on the very left is what was existing. The brick in the very middle to the right is all new, how we just blended it together. And then all the windows were brought in new and new materials, and it's a way to blend the old with the new. And I think that's what started the process of trying to say, well, what can we take from this to you as far as cost? So presented a budget and took the old budget from this job that we did and took the actual cost of how we did it and wanted to see what we could do this job for. The job that we did there is a little bit bigger, it's 30,000 square feet. This job's 23,000 square foot, so it's about the same size and same type of idea. You've got a facility where we were going to take it, and working through this, just put together all of the aspects, just like we did when we built it, costed it through. And I feel like that this is a very representative estimate of what everything should cost, but should be able to be as a target number to shoot at, but I really feel like that after looking at the facility, it is got room for improvement. I really do. Looking at you may want to talk about the layout or what we saw, what we envisioned of.
Just a couple of comments, and I'll step away and get this so I can have it with me on the podium. Just impressions from my visit to the site and the building as it stands. It appears to be about a 1970 era construction, former department store. In my view, it actually has and picks up with the existing design more of the character of the neighborhood where it sits than the proposed design, which would be to remove the broken mansard roof and replace it with structural steel, brick, and stucco. In my view, the present design as it stands actually protects the building a little bit better with an overhang about so at this point here. It's about 1/3 shingle or metal and 2/3 brick. The proposed design is all brick. Really, the existing design, to me, as an architect, fits better with the character of the neighborhood than the proposed design. As in fact, there's a broken mansard roof just 2 doors down in an office building that's also integrated in the neighborhood. To consider keeping more of what's there, wrapping the materials, the wooden materials with metal to protect it, and renovating the outside to the extent that the windows would be changed out, the roof would be redone. Obviously, a new roof would go on the facility, is something that you probably want to consider. And take whatever money that is saved in that process and either put it inside or just save the money. The other thing that I'm sure we talked about, Tom talked about, was a clear story. Windows very expensive to do. It's a structural solution, a non-structural solution that would give you just the same amount of daylight, or fixtures called solitubes. Basically, it's an acrylic dome that you place them along the flat roof surface. They bring in light through a fixture that looks just like that, and the light looks just like that. If that's the daylighting, if the issue is daylight, that's a way to achieve it. And of course, the other way is just to provide proper light fixtures and control artificial light fixtures that we all use to get the kind of light that's needed and necessary for a library.
When we went through the estimate, which you've got an estimate here of your budgeted cost, I mean, we tried to envision and took out stuff of the library in Wake County to come up with an estimate that you could look at so you can kind of forecast. I know cost is what this is all about, and certainly that's a big part of it, but also to have the right team together to be able to put forth the quality and the commitment, the safety, and all of those aspects. I mean, Bordeaux Construction has been building since '85 in our community here. Roy has been with me pretty much since the beginning, and he's been an integral part, and I would be happy to present Roy as being our candidate to take forward. I mean, we certainly have built for quite a long time, and part of that is to establish a reputation to garnish and go forward to be able to present. So I'm going to ask Roy if you maybe make a couple comments about your experiences in Mount Olive building and just introduce yourself.
I'm Roy. Roy Weaver with Bordeaux Construction. As Thomas said, I've been with the company now 26 years, I believe. But I would like to say from my standpoint as being the job superintendent, and I'd appreciate the job to work in Mount Olive again. I really enjoyed it when I was here. Matter of fact, I was telling Tom on the way down, I keep all my business cards, from the lumber yards to the tire places, and I don't know who else does it, but I have a habit of loving to spend your money in your town, your county. I love making the friends with the people that are around us. So that's one of the first things that I like to do. I like to step out and to spend your money in your own country, your own town, your county. But As far as my job goes, scheduling, being on the job every day, coordinating and making sure that you get your job done on time. That's probably one of the hardest things I would say in construction we have to do today, is because everything is a long lead time item. Some things are, some things are not, and so hopefully with our experience that we can be able to expedite those things. You know, that's the kind of stuff we try to stay on top of. Quality, I'm a firm believer in quality. I don't mind telling a subcontractor from the very beginning. If I see something I don't like, it don't look good, I don't mind telling them, fix it, do it then. I like doing things one time. I don't like doing things twice. So I'd like for you to know that's my experience with quality. I love quality work, and I'm sure you do as well. I've always had an eye for it. I'm not bragging on myself, but I've always had kind of an eye for it. But and then the second thing is safety. I'm a firm believer in safety, and I've not looked at the drawings that much. I've glanced at them a little bit, and what I'm seeing is, I'm noticing, just so you would know, I've done a lot of renovating in schools and stuff with kids, and with the people that are around. So I'm very cautious of the safety with the people around. I'm seeing that your building is sitting, I think it's probably 35 or 40 feet off of the main street or the main road. So safety is going to be very important to me, not just with the contractors, but as well as the people that are in Mount Olive. So I'm just so you would know that if we get the job, that's the one thing I don't think you would have to worry about in coordinating with the people in the town and the people around us. I'm very easily to get along with. I don't try to swim upstream. I do what the people around me intend for me to do. I fight the battles you can win, but well, we find that out a lot, over the past years. But I really enjoyed working in Mount Olive. I did the school at Broadton School. We renovated the school, added a new cafeteria, a new gymnasium and stuff, working with the kids in the school that was there. So safety is one of our main objectives when we do a job, and especially with the people in the surroundings that are around us. Thank you.
You want to talk about the integrated design concept?
Well, the process that we use, Bordeaux and Height use, is involving the user groups in the beginning and going through the existing design. We would begin, I guess, with the assumption that what's on those plans is the floor plan that's preferred, but go back and revisit the design objectives vis-a-vis the plan that's been done, and then find out, what the priorities are. Obviously find out from the facilities committee what the budget is, what are our objectives as far as cost goes. And again, working with Bordeaux's estimating department, all their contacts in the industry, on the design side, on the engineering side, looking at the HVAC systems, the electrical systems, lighting's a big issue, furniture's a big issue, and all the things that go together, not just use but construction. Those numbers, back checks every time we get together, establish a budget, and then look at the objectives, see how we're matching up, and make sure that we match up all the way through the design, from the concept all the way through looking at how much technology, where is it's going to be, all the details as far as fixture locations and things like that.
Yeah, the comment about pricing is that's where we work hard to bring competitive pricing to the project. We are in that every day. We work on projects throughout Eastern North Carolina, and our commitment is to bring our source of contacts, material suppliers, subcontractors, to the table and use them to help price the project. I mean, that's what makes the world go round with a contractor. And one of the things that we've established since we've been at it for a number of years is to bring forth a group of contractors that we are familiar with, that we work together as a group. And it's amazing when you pick out somebody that you're not familiar with. It's just hard to make a teammate until you've built a job with him. It's hard to describe, but it's a true statement. You've got to know the ins and outs. There's not a perfect world. It's something you've got to be able to sort out, and you've got to be able to mediate, because nothing is ever perfect in our world of construction. But being able to have somebody that you can communicate well with is what's really important. And those are the type of players that that we pick as far as being teammates on our contractor, and we'll work hard together because I'll be picking the people that we're familiar with we have built many jobs together to help us with our budgeting. As Jimmy designs, we'll be able to pick out and use those resources to help update and modernize the costing. So the project that we are envisioning, it starts with a preliminary budget and we work from there. And think that the preliminary budget that we're working from is a project that is very similar in nature to the project that you have, renovating a building, a warehouse type building, modernizing it, bringing it up to the state that you need. Now, every county has unique requirements. I don't know what the unique requirements are for your county yet, but we certainly can integrate those requirements into this budget very, very quickly. I wanted to state schedule a second. You know, it looks like this is a shovel-ready project, coin a phrase, except for it's got to have some design work, but I think it can hit the ground running. I mean, it just seems like the structure's there, and the structure looks sound. There just doesn't look any bad materials in it, so it should not have any unforeseen conditions that are readily apparent to both Jimmy and I looking at it. I think that will lend itself to being able to get started on this project very early. I would love to hear any comments you may have. I sitting there and provided you some information. If you've got any questions about it, we invite any questions you may have. We would bring to the table both Jimmy and I's resources from a long number of years in eastern North Carolina, and I think we would help you very much in developing this project for you. So.
Okay. Question?
On the natural lighting aspect, you said it would be relatively expensive. About how much, just ballpark figure, per square foot, you know, if we did use some natural lighting, about how much would that add to the square foot? Just a ballpark figure.
We can use the solar tube product in lieu of what is proposed at a significant, substantial cost savings. The solar tubes will light a pretty good area through an opening about the size of that tile. They have lighting control. What they do is it's a dome that actually collects light, and then the reflection is almost a multiplier inside the shaft, and then disperses it through something that looks exactly like a light fixture. They're about $1,500 a piece.
I've got a school right now where we're putting in 52 of them, and they are like 3 per classroom. And literally on a cloudy day, like it's pretty much out there, it's brighter than this light, and it's a natural light. And each classroom, I'm just going to go back to the classroom. Like I said, $1,500. They are a round dome that goes through the roof. It's it's like they're 21-inch diameter. They come into a 24-inch square tile, and they are capable. You know, as you've got media productions, they have a dimming feature, which is just a switch, and it's just a little damper in the solar tube, and it's quite stunning if you've never seen it, how much light it would bring in. Far easier than doing a light monitor, and pre-manufactures curbs to make it such that, you know, I'm not one of those. I'm the first guy that usually gets called when a roof leak happens, but I can assure you they have a good feature of having a prefabricated curb with a cap similar to an exhaust fan on the roof that goes on, and it's easy to flash.
For a project this size, if you used 30, 40, I mean, it's maybe a $40,000 or $50,000 item.
So you're looking at $1.50 square foot.
In the alternative, obviously, you can use artificial, you know, lights like we have everywhere, with the same color temperature as daylight. One of the issues is that it, you know, obviously at night the solar tubes are not going to work, so they would be in addition to the appropriate artificial lighting that we would provide in any case.
Do you have a rough idea, time frame in recouping what the investment is in savings and power usage?
I do not. I'd have to look at
But
the
it had
numbers
to, it
and
would have
the
to,
engineer
it would
run
have
the
to,
numbers.
you know, cut the cost down a lot, during the day.
Yes, sir.
Well, one of the things about that comment that comes to mind is LED lighting. All of the lighting fixtures today that are being installed, especially in a facility like this, are much more energy efficient. And in combination with that with natural lighting is certainly an estimate that could be, analyzed and to answer your question. But I don't have a number to spout out.
Okay.
We can run cost payback analyses on any number of things that you have questions on. We're good at doing what ifs. What if we did this? What if we do that? And obviously, we can set the specification. Tom's group can provide the price. And, basically, good decisions are made with complete information. And what we're proposing is a team that can provide the complete information that you need to make the good decisions for the library and the county.
A follow-up to that is that, both Jimmy and I do LEED building, green building, and some of that comes with a lot of nostalgia and what it costs, but there's a lot of features in green building that need to be brought to a project. Low flush toilets, low capacity lavatories, high efficiency, mechanical equipment, high efficiency glass, light reflective roofs. Those aspects are just common sense building practices. Those are things that don't come with a necessary cost, just come with smart design and construction. So I think that projects that we're familiar with that are being certified with LEED doesn't have to be certified, but we could bring those same materials into the project here. I think that would be something that we would certainly advise and incorporate in our design.
Okay, Mr. King, you have it.
All right. I do, and thank you so much for coming today, and first of all, and secondly, I'm not sure I'd be here today. If I were you, I'd be with my son probably, but I know if he's in the
His wife's
hospital.
got him in there.
Okay.
They got it under control.
But I understand, and I appreciate you coming today, and hope him well. The project budget that you've presented is about the third page here on my presentation. You have a design fee of 8%, and thank you for the credit, of looking at the credit for the existing design from ratio, at reducing it by 1% at $25,000, and contingency rate at 4%. That's not bad either. But I am somewhat concerned about the existing plans as they are looking at the town of Mount Olive securing our, or upgrading our parking area to the northwest and allowing parking there to the main entrance on the north side off of Main Street. And as Mr. Height looks at the design work on the interior and logistics for internal design work and looking at what ratio does have, and if you are working off of that, and reminded, of course, we've spent approximately $240,000 and another 30, I say 25, 30. So we're somewhere around $270,000 on architectural design so far, and with an additional design fee of $200,000, that would put our investment just in design work alone at close to 300. Let's see, 200, 300, 400, close to $450,000 of what we are, close to $500,000 of where we are.
Ours is proposed basically at 125.
Okay, it just said design fee 8%. It said here 200,000.
I'm sorry, you're correct.
Okay. And with that said, looking at the logistics on the interior of the internal part, and if we do make the north side the main entrance, want to make sure that each architect today we speak to understands the curb appeal for Mount Olive and the flavor off of every side of the building with the exception of the east side, which is covered by existing buildings with an alley. But if you have off of Main Street on the north side and then off of Chestnut to the west and looking at the south side, and as we have looked at before with the presentations, the south side seems to have sort of been lost in the shuffle as far as the outside elevations. And if we use the south side as parking, and site work's not in here, by the way, I just didn't see site work, and we can get to that later. But if we look at the elevations on the south side, making it very appealing for a main entrance for 10 years out, as this becomes a regional learning center, as they have talked about in the past. If we're getting the number of cars and the number of people, and in fact handicap customers, what is it going to take to show that elevation on the south end as appealing as the north end? And interiorly, inside logistically, how do we move around using the ratio programming?
Well,
Am I too vague, Jimmy?
In the south side, let me. If the south side
Yes,
here
sir.
becomes a main entrance, I mean, see there's an entrance here. This appears to be an area that's designed so that it can be locked off and used for community use or other use independent of the library, because it's got some closures here. And they still have access to the restrooms with a lock off here. So that's a sort of a minor entrance to that area. This is another entrance to this area. If this entrance here were proposed to be a controlled entrance, and even if it wasn't, we would continue the architectural features of the north and west side along the south side as well, which would include replicating a covered area, a covered porch, similar to what's here, back here in this area. But I have to be honest with you, I mean, some people would say the design of the building is dated with the broken mansard roof. I think it's very much in keeping with the neighborhood. I believe it could be completely updated and made to look like new for certainly a reasonable cost. I just don't believe in throwing, the baby out with the bathwater sort of thing. But yes, all sides of the building except for the alley side would certainly be treated in the same way as far as visual and architectural features.
Was there site work included in the project price?
Yes, sir, it is.
It is.
How much?
We had very similar site work conditions in the library in Raleigh that this budget was budgeted after. We had existing parking lot. We had to go in and recontour it. We had new curb gutters put in. One thing that I did take out, we had underground detention, but I don't think that this project, from what I saw, was going to require that, so that was taken out of the project. Obviously, you're fortunate if you don't have to do that.
Yes.
So we tailored this estimate to feel like that we have provided a liberal enough budget that it would have been picked from a project that was done very similar, using those costs that were $2006, $2007. No escalation in this. The cost of the numbers that we have are very, very similar to what we did there. And, I really believe that this budget, from what I've seen, demolition after seeing the project is probably, I feel like, a very liberal, probably too liberal from what I just saw. So there's some things that this is a preliminary, this is a starting point as the design develops, as Jimmy and I get forward to programming the project. I mean, this is something that we do every day. We estimate every day. It's something that we would do and not have to farm it out. It's just how we do things.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to go back for just a second talking about the natural lighting. What's the the tubes that you're talking about, the solar tubes?
Solar tubes.
Yeah. That as opposed to the way the design is now with a lifted roof with the natural glass around it, about what kind of difference in cost percentage-wise? Is it 2, 3, 4 times? Just a ballpark.
I'm gonna be kind of throwing a dart at it, 4 to 10 times.
Okay.
It's a very labor-intensive, material expensive, cutting big holes, structurally modifying everything. Your structure that you have existing would not have to have anything done to it other than a roof opening frame. But, you know, you can go back and look at the pictures, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring that picture, is to show you the work involved to put a light monitor in play. Not to speak of all the roof flashing, all the interruption to the way the roof slopes. You know, it's just a lot of things going on when you go to a roof light monitor of the size that was shown on the original ratio plan.
Okay, now, let's go to the next side of this. What, on the roof monitor we're talking about, what kind of maintenance are we looking at as far as maintaining this?
Talking about the roof.
If we were to go with the roof monitor?
Well, I mean, when you say maintenance, the picture that's there right now is going to show a continuous flashing that's got to go and intertwine with the existing roof. The roof slope, if I'm not mistaken, goes from south to north. It goes and drains to the back. So I would assume that the light monitor on this, and I don't know that, would have run parallel with the slope. If it did that, it would have greatly, improve the performance of that light monitor. You've got the glass, you've got the additional roof up there. If it's properly constructed, it would not take any more maintenance per se than the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
I need to point out one thing that is from my own experience with a library. When I was a much younger man, a young architect, I actually did a library that had a light monitor, a clear story. And it gave some very nice light during the day to the library. And when we had hurricanes, the wind going across the roof went up in the flashing and down inside the building. One of the things that we have to be sensitive to as designers in eastern North Carolina, where we have high winds almost every year now, is the force and effect of winds as they blow across a roof. It will actually deliver wind-driven rain in such a manner and at such force that it will go up, straight up a wall, and then under the flashing and into the building. Now, you can stop it up with sealant. It's kind of hard to stand behind somebody with a caulking gun every minute of the day. Mr. Weaver's got other people to watch, and as best he can try, something might get missed. But I'm telling you, it can happen, it does happen. And if you do something like that, you just got to really be careful and understand that under extreme conditions, there may be ways for water to find its way in that glazing or in those glass frames. I've seen it, I've had it happen, and I haven't done it since.
General comment about the structure that you have is you've got a fairly high ceiling in there already. So therefore, I think that high ceiling with the ability to daylight it with uplit off of a reflective ceiling and also bringing in artificial light is going to be something that is not going to, it's got plenty of room for the ceiling. Obviously, the light monitor opens it up. It comes with the additional cost, and it's a programming feature that is a feature that when we came in, we just felt like that we could implement daylighting at a more cost-effective solution, and that's what we have been talking about.
Okay. My next question is, after all the public hearings and permits and design, once we finalize everything, as far as construction schedule, what kind of timeline do you have from start of construction to completion?
I looked at it as being 6 months or less.
Okay.
And I really believe that the demolition, as I envisioned, would be very minor. Being able to be in a design-build atmosphere, we could get started on some of the sequences that we needed to have, the materials we would need to have early. So I really think when Roy started up on the job, we'd be able to, with boots on the ground, going. I mean, the project really is tailor-made for a library. Just looking at the facility of what you've got, it could not be a more straightforward renovation project tailor-made for a library.
Any other questions? Anyone else having a question?
Just, Mr. Chairman, I thought, since we opened with the comment, and I think the other presenter was present, did you want to mention to this particular team about kind of next step?
Yes. The, just as a matter of information, the process going forward from the day, the facilities committee will, at the end of the day, we will recess from this meeting, and we will be back in session on August the 6th, which is our next commissioners meeting at 7 a.m. That's on a Tuesday. And at that time, the facilities committee, we will meet at 7 a.m. We will make our decision. And once that decision is made, it will be presented from the facilities committee to the Board of Commissioners for their approval. I don't want to say disapprove. I'm going to say approval. So just as a matter of how it's going to go from this time forward. So that's the way we have it set, and that's the most efficient way that we can do it at this time, because our next commissioner meeting is August 6th. So just for your information.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Any others?
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.